Breaking news. Breaking news. Kawhi Leonard is set to make his return tonight against the Atlanta Hawks at home. Yes, Kawhi Leonard in the Intuit Dome will make his return tonight. He has been upgraded from doubtful to questionable, and he's set to make his return. Now, as we know, Kawhi Leonard, he missed 12 of the Clippers' final 14 games last season with right knee inflammation, and he hasn't played since. Obviously, we know who we're dealing with. Kawhi has, let's just say, a troubled history with knee injuries. He obviously has degenerative knees, and this is an ongoing issue. He hasn't played at all this season. We didn't know when he was going to return. We kept wondering, is Kawhi going to come back? When is he going to play? Are the Clippers going to be anything because Kawhi isn't there? Well, not only have the Clippers exceeded expectations without Kawhi, but now finally we get a late Christmas present with Kawhi Leonard returning. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard was supposed to play this summer. Remember, with the Olympic team in Paris. He was invited to the training camp and he started going through some drills and whatnot. He was there for the first couple of days, and ultimately they had to shut him down and send him home because he wasn't able to play. He just wasn't able to go. And that's when they replaced him with Derek White. That's how Derek White got on Team USA. But that was supposed to be Kawhi. So not only has he been dealing with the knee issue since the summer, but even prior to that. Now, remember last season, Kawhi played 68 games. That was the most games that Kawhi's played since 2016-17 season when he played 74 games. Remember, the next year he came back, he only played 9 games. He played the final 9 games of the season. The next year he played 60 games. Next year he played 50, and that 60 games was with Toronto. The following year he played 57 games in his first year with the Clippers. Then he played 52 games, got injured, missed the whole next season. The season after that, 22-23, he played 52 games. And then last year, he came back and had one of his more healthier seasons of his career, actually. 68 games is the third highest amount of games that Kawhi's played in any season, and it was his 32-year-old season after he went through a plethora of injuries. So Kawhi had a good year last year, but ultimately he got hurt during the last tail end of the season, and he ended up missing the first game of the playoffs and only ended up playing 2 games in the playoffs, and then had to end up eventually calling things quits in the playoffs against the Dallas Mavericks. And eventually, you guys know, they ended up losing to the Mavericks. But that's how Kawhi looked last year. And even in those 68 games, Kawhi was stellar. That was good enough to get him second team All-NBA. Remember, the Clippers finished 4th in the West last year behind Kawhi. Kawhi averaged almost 24 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He was still pretty good on the defensive end as well. Kawhi was Kawhi last year, and the Clippers' success reflected that. But ultimately, his knees weren't able to hold up. Well, now he's back, and we'll see exactly just how much Kawhi can hold up and just how much he can impact this Clippers team, and whether he'll be able to ultimately just come back and be the same version of himself. Hearing some people say Kawhi needs to retire. Some people saying Kawhi needs to call it quits. Some people are saying that this might not even be the best version of Kawhi, or even a solid enough version of Kawhi to even come back and play. Well, we'll just have to see that, and we'll have to see what Kawhi and James Harden can do. But, well, speaking of James Harden, let's just talk about what the Clippers have been able to do as of right now. So obviously, as we know, without Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers have been able to stay afloat, and they've actually been competitive, which has surprised me because I thought without Kawhi Leonard, without Paul George, without Russell Westbrook, that this team was just going to fall off a cliff and they were going to be trash. Well, currently, the Clippers are 19-5 which is good for 7th in the West. And we all know that the West is tight. Everybody's right there, jam-packed in the middle. So just a couple games ago, they've lost their last 2 games, but just a couple games ago, they were actually 4th in the West, well, 5th in the West. So the Clippers have been able to stay in the mix. And this is in large part due to career years from Zubac and Norman Powell. Yes, the unsung heroes of this season have been Zubac and Norman Powell. Norman Powell has been killing it for the Clippers. He actually leads them in scoring, averaging 23.6 points per game. And he's doing that shooting 44% from 3, and he's getting up 8 threes. So he's shooting the lights out on high volume, which is letting you know that Norman Powell is really on demon time this year. He's in a whole different zone. Zubac is averaging 15 points, 12 rebounds. I think he's top 5 in rebounds right now. And Zubac is just having a career year as well as Norman Powell. And James Harden is, well, he's James Harden. I mean, he's not 2018 James Harden, but he's still giving you 22 points a night. He's still giving you 8 assists. He's still giving you 6 rebounds. And he's still doing James Harden things. So due to good play from these 3, the Clippers have been able to, well, remain relevant in the West and in a stacked West, a tough West. And once again, this is to my surprise. You guys let me know if you expected this from the Clippers, especially without Kawhi Leonard. So shout out to James Harden for being the leader of this team. Shout out to Norman Powell for taking his game to a whole different level. He might even get Most Improved Player of the Year this year. That's how good Norman Powell's been. And then you got Zubac, who is really cementing himself as one of the better centers in the NBA. So surprisingly, the Clippers are still in playoff contention. Also, they have the 5th best rated defense in the NBA, and that's without Kawhi, which is crazy. But then also, too, the Clippers have made some key additions to their roster, as well as some key subtractions, addition by subtraction. They've added Derrick Jones Jr., they added Chris Dunn. Both of those 2 have been major for what the Clippers have been able to do this year, especially on the defensive end. They also added Kevin Porter Jr., they added Mo Bamba. These 2 guys have been key rotation guys for the Clippers. But the subtractions may be the biggest thing for the Clippers, actually. They got rid of Paul George. They didn't want to give him all that money, and they they definitely dodged a big bullet because now he's playing for the Sixers. He's having a down season. He signed a mega contract, and he wanted to sign for even more with the Clippers. Clippers were like, no, we're not giving you all that money. We can see the future. We know how this story goes. Well, he ends up going to Philly, and, well, the rest is history, and not really that good of history. He's playing a little better now, but he started off the season playing terribly, and he's been injured throughout the whole season as well. PJ Tucker, he's still on the roster, but basically he's not on the roster. He hasn't been around, and they don't want him around. Russell Westbrook, they let him walk. He ended up going to Denver. He did give him good minutes last year, but they ultimately decided not to bring Russell Westbrook back, and also Mason Plumlee. So they basically added some good players, and they got addition by subtraction with letting certain players go. And as we know, last year the Clippers were 4th in the West. They went 51-31, and they ultimately, made the playoffs, and they were competitive against the Dallas Mavericks. But without Kawhi Leonard, they just didn't really stand a chance. And we also do know that Dallas Mavericks team ended up going to the finals and ultimately losing, but they were a finals team. But remember, Kawhi played in the playoffs last year. Now, he missed the first game. After he missed like the tail end of the season, he played 68 games, missed the tail end of the season, but he played in the second game of the playoffs. Missed the first game, played in the second game, and he was all right. Still kind of a shell of himself, but he was all right. He scored 15 points, had 7 assists. All right, Kawhi game. The next game, game 3, he comes back. He only plays 24 minutes. He has 9 points and 9 rebounds, but he eventually re-aggravated his knee problems, and he ended up missing the whole rest of the season. So that's kind of how Kawhi's season and the Clippers season ultimately ended last year. Well, the thing about it is Kawhi is set to return tonight against the Atlanta Hawks. He's listed as questionable, but here's the thing, though. The Clippers offense is 24th in the NBA. Now, granted, their defense is 5th, which is going to be great, and Kawhi should come back and help that. But the biggest addition that Kawhi is going to be to this team is on the offensive end. The Clippers are 24th, and they've been struggling. It's been hard to obviously stay afloat with just James Harden being one of your only creators. Then you got Norman Powell, who's been asked to basically be a number one option. He's averaging 24 points, but you don't necessarily expect Norman Powell to carry a playoff contending team or a team that just has high aspirations. Well, you know what? You add Kawhi Leonard to that, and all of a sudden, things go from being murky and gloomy to all of a sudden it's a sunny day in Los Angeles. What do you know? We all know who Kawhi is on the offensive end, and we all know what he's capable of. And the thing about it is, maybe Kawhi doesn't get back to his 2016 self where he was third in the MVP race. He averaged 26 points, and he was just a menace. Maybe Kawhi doesn't get back to his 2019 self, averaging 26.6. Maybe Kawhi doesn't get to what I think was his best version of himself on the offensive end in 2020 when he averaged 27 points in his first year for the Clippers. Maybe he doesn't get to that. Maybe he doesn't get to his playoff level when he led the Toronto Raptors all the way to the championship and they ended up beating the Golden State Warriors. Remember when he hit the game winner against Philadelphia and sent Joel Embiid packing, eventually made Jimmy Butler have to get up out of there. He packed him up in a nice little Christmas box and sent their asses home. I know y'all remember that Kawhi. Maybe, just maybe, he doesn't get back to that level. It's actually expected of him not to get back to prime Kawhi. But if Kawhi can get back to the 23.7 points that he averaged last year, if he can give you 6 rebounds, if he can give you 3 assists, maybe, just maybe, this Clippers team may be dangerous in the West. Maybe, just maybe, a Clippers team that has overachieved up to this point and is currently 7th in the West at 19-15. Maybe it's not crazy to say that they win 7 more games and now they're 26-8. Is that crazy to say? Is it crazy to say that Kawhi's not a 7-game swing for this team? You guys let me know in the comments how ultimately you feel about Kawhi Leonard coming back, but ultimately how you think that he can change this team and if he can change this team for the better. Let me know if you think Kawhi Leonard will be healthy and if he can sustain this throughout the whole season. Let me know if you think Kawhi Leonard needs to be load managed all the way through the season and they need to just save him for the playoffs. But in the meantime, I got a couple super chats, so let me go ahead and get to these. My man Trent Meehan said, what do you expect this year from him? Traded for him. Well, what I expect from Kawhi, I'm pretty sure he's talking about from Kawhi. What I expect from Kawhi is I expect for Kawhi to do Kawhi things. Over the last 8 years, Kawhi's been a 20 point per game guy, 20 or more. Also, over the last 8 years, we obviously got elite levels of defense from Kawhi. I don't know if I can expect elite level of defense from Kawhi, but from a defense that's already rated 5th in the NBA, I expect for Kawhi to even come and make that better. I expect for him to contribute. And he might not be that defensive menace where he just defends from minute 1 to minute 48 in the overtime and all of that, but he's at least going to defend in spots and he's going to be a plus and a positive for this Clippers team. So that's what I expect from Kawhi. I expect for Kawhi to take some pressure off James Harden. I expect for Kawhi to take some pressure off Norman Powell or vice versa. Maybe they take pressure off Kawhi and allow Kawhi to really flourish. But I expect a good season from Kawhi because Kawhi Leonard is Kawhi Leonard. This was a top 5 player in the game for multiple seasons. And it wasn't that long ago. I also got another super chat from Thank You, Sean. Well, it was a members chat. He's been around for 10 months. And thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. He said, Ron, a fake Sonics fan? Them shoes clean, though? Fake Sonics fan? Just wait. Hey, just wait till we get our team back. You gonna see who I am. You gonna learn a lot about me. You gonna see how turned up I could get in this Seattle area. For real. Hey, I bleed green and gold, okay? Just know that. But y'all, it's been amazing. It's been fun. And I can't wait to see Kawhi Leonard suit up tonight against the Atlanta Hawks. Let me see. This game is slated to come on at, hold on, bear with me. Give me a second. 7:30. And it will be on NBA TV tonight in Los Angeles. So you guys make sure to mark your calendar, set your alarms, and be tapped in on NBA TV tonight so we can see the Claw do Claw things, you know. But in the meantime, I'll be back very soon to break some more news for you. Shout out to everybody. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe and keep going in the comments. Let me know how you feel about Kawhi Leonard. Catch you soon.